Welcome back, Soulful Society, to Soulful of Wellness,
the multi-generational podcast brought to you by two functional imperfectionists
and certified coaches
who deliver tips to live your most authentic and balanced life.
In today's episode, we're talking about hobbies and why it's important that you have something in your life that's just for you. In our outcome-driven world, your wellness benefits from having something that's just all about the process.
We'll start off by discussing why having a hobby is important to your wellness. We'll talk about how to connect with a hobby you love. And then we'll wrap up with a fun little quiz that we wrote just for you to help you determine if what you enjoy doing qualifies as your hobby or not.
As we were thinking about the year coming to a close soon, which I still can't wrap my head around the fact that Thanksgiving is next week, we realized we don't know if we've done a little check-in with you lately. So we're going to start off with a little visualization. In your head, name all the parts of your wellness wheel. And for new listeners, hello, welcome. A wellness wheel is just a model that represents the various parts of your life that play into you feeling balanced and happy and well. After you've thought about what's on your wellness wheel, we want to ask you, did your wheel include joy?
Joy is its own part of most wellness wheel models. It's important, but it's also often overlooked. We tend to forget about it.
We tend to associate joy with happenstance, but in reality, the reason why we're bringing up joy, and it is a real part of your wheel, is because the definition of a hobby is doing something for your leisure, something that you enjoy. So it really is something that you have a little degree of control over in your life.
Today in this episode, we're hoping through this discussion that you'll get more clarity about what it is that brings you joy, what activities cause you to have enjoyment in the process of it.
Mm-hmm.
As you mentioned, Kaylin, our worlds are so product driven. We're so about the outcome. If it's a creation, it's not about the finished product of the creation. It's the process of creating. If you're artistic and you're painting a painting, it's not about the painting and what you're going to do with it when it's finished, where you'll hang it. It's about taking pleasure in the hours you spend working on it. And I just heard myself say that, and even using the word working sounds wrong. But right. I didn't want to say doing anymore. But you know what I mean, the painting part of creating the painting.
Mm-hmm. And it's a nice break from the day-to-day of society where we are so driven by productivity and how much can I get done and did I check this off my to-do list? And so this is why we wanted to talk about hobbies and why it's an important part of your well-being, because it offers you so much. It offers you that chance to connect with yourself or to connect with a community. It offers you time to be authentic and enjoy what you're doing and take a pause, a break from your productive day to day.
Time is a big part of it. And that goes to why it's important to schedule joy into your life.
Yeah.
Part of my hobbies is that I'm not rushed when I'm doing them. I spend so much of my life hurrying, feeling rushed, wishing I had more time. Part of what I love about the time I do get to spend enjoying the hobbies I love so much is that in those moments, I'm not rushing. I'm not thinking, oh, I need to finish this. I can't wait till this is done, because it's not about that at all. It's loving the doing time.
Mm-hmm. Definitely being in the moment of creation or whatever you're doing. And I also want to shed some light on the idea of joy and enjoyment, I think about elation and, happiness and vibration, but there's more to it than that. You could even feel simply relaxed while you're doing or engaging in a hobby, or a sense of serenity or peace, or maybe your brain is just turned off. Maybe you're not super happy or excited, but maybe you have a moment of inner peace while you're practicing your hobby.
That mindfulness component of living in the moment of doing it is so important.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm horseback riding, one of my hobbies, I am living in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Partly because if you don't, the horse knows it and starts doing stupid things and it could actually get dangerous. So you very much need to be present in the moment.
Right.
But also, I love being present in that moment. So I am not doing the mental multitasking I typically
Mm-hmm.
do, where I'm also thinking about when I'm going to start dinner prep later or how I need to go to the grocery store to get the stuff for dinner later. When I'm writing, I'm really just present in that moment, thinking about what I'm doing, how I'm doing, even kind of a meta moment where I'm thinking about how good it feels to be doing what I'm doing and how lucky I am.
Oh, I love that. That is such a good example of being present and in the moment when you're having that meta experience. Like, oh my gosh, I'm really enjoying this.
Yeah.
And there doesn't even have to be a reason. Like, I actually don't really have that many scheduled hobbies. Sometimes I'll just grab my longboard and just go outside. And I'll just notice when I come back, I'm feeling a little bit different than when I originally grabbed my board, for example.
I think that's great as long as you actually
Do
do
it.
take the moments.
Yeah.
My problem is if I don't schedule it, it's highly unlikely to actually ever happen.
So, in terms of defining a hobby, let's take a look at that and get into what hobbies are before we get into how to find your hobby. Kit's going to list out a bunch of different hobbies, and don't even really go in this activity with an outcome in mind. Just listen to what she's listing off, and then we are going to talk about it.
All right, here are some potential hobbies to consider: acting, woodworking, poetry, writing, journaling, ceramics, calligraphy, bird watching, astronomy, photography, scrapbooking, knitting, crocheting, board games, playing an instrument, singing, reading, walking, hiking, bike riding, gardening, baking, cooking, card games, brain games, crossword puzzles, word searches, dancing, tai chi, yoga, swimming, horseshoes, bowling, skiing.
So, when Kit originally read off this list in preparation for this episode, we were trying to spark our imaginations and get more creative around, what hobbies could be available to you. But what was interesting is I asked her a question that I'm going to ask you, which actually helped us uncover our blockages when it comes to finding a hobby that we enjoy. So, the question I asked you, Kit, is after hearing that list, what's coming up for you?
I have a vision. It's more than a feeling. It's this vision of these darling old people who are all outside on a lovely sunny day practicing their hobbies. Some are gardening, some are playing chess, some are just sitting around talking, a couple knitting, chatting with each other, a couple playing cards. And I was not in the picture. Isn't that interesting?
So interesting. So we had this discussion. We're like, this really reveals something about you, Kit, internally, your intrinsic motivators, and also your beliefs and your values. You weren't in the picture. So it was almost as if hobbies are reserved for the elderly in your belief system.
Right.
Somewhere along the road, you were taught to believe that, or you picked up on that belief.
I have to dig into this deeper because I'm a little concerned for myself that I don't feel like maybe I deserve too much time for hobbies, that I've got to earn it through all these years of hard work. And then when I'm retired, I'll get the luxury of enjoying them. I'm not sure. I need to look into this.
I have a theory that it's based on the generation that's older than you who may have instilled these work hard beliefs and you picked up on them as a kid. And that is just my theory, you guys. I don't know if it's accurate, just a thought.
Yeah, maybe I've over internalized that. And as I tend to do, taken it to an extreme.
So, but the exercise is great because it's helping you reveal to yourself your deeply seated beliefs in order and right, the first step is always awareness. So now that you're aware of the belief, you can begin to dismantle it to be able to find hobbies that you love.
Kaylin, tell us, when I read that list and threw the question back your way, what was your internal response to that list?
So interesting because totally different from yours. And that's what's cool about this exercise. So my response was, oh, wow, that's overwhelming, the list, first of all. And secondly, oh, wow, that all sounds so interesting, some of those things she said, but I feel like I just really want to be good at them if I were to do it in a group.
Yeah.
As an example, I used to grow up dancing and I wouldn't want to go back into a dance class again with a group until I had the moves down.
We hadn't planned to read the list to you because, the list isn't anything earth shattering. The list itself, the activities are all activities we've heard of before. But then we realized as a tool to dig inside it, unearth possibly some really quirky, I want to do a non-judgment word, but let's say some quirky belief systems that we're operating around. So that's why we read that list, not recommending any of those particular activities, but recommending that you look within to get an understanding of how do you view leisure time? How do you view enjoyment, hobbies? What belief system is under all that?
So before we get into our quiz, we want to talk about how you can start to practice a hobby. Essentially, you're going to want to get curious about how you do spend your free time right now. And if you're thinking, if only I had free time, that's also an answer to yourself.
Right. That's a major red flag right there. Don't ignore it. I've done that before. I speak from experience.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. As much as I am not joking about the retirement years being full of enjoyment, I also am no longer living in all work and no play life. It's really important to build in some time just for you. Time for you.
It's crucial. It's so crucial. You need it.
All right. We'll hit you with, this is all in fun, but they are kind of actually really valuable questions in their own right. But this is our lighthearted quiz we call, is it a hobby or not?
All right. Question 1. Do you enjoy this activity?
Can you choose to do it or choose to not do it? In other words, are there no negative repercussions if you choose not to do it on any given day?
Can you choose when to do it? So there's no external deadlines or someone on the other end of the phone depending on you or depending on you finishing a project. Is it on your own time?
Are you compensated for doing it? Compensated through being paid, the most obvious form of compensation, or is there another external reward? Because with hobbies, if someone else notices and compliments what you're doing, that's always nice, but you're not doing it to get the compliment or to get the notice or the praise. Most hobbies, the enjoyment comes from within, so the reward is very internally based.
The last two, we are going to preface by saying they're trick questions.
Trick question alert.
The first is, do you do this activity alone? And so the reason why this is a trick question is because you can have a hobby that's community based. That's fabulous. That checks off another box in your wellness, which is community. It's really important, human connection.
Last question. Have you achieved a level of proficiency? And the reason this one is a trick question is because it doesn't matter if you're a beginner, as long as you're having fun with it. It doesn't matter if you're not a beginner, but you still haven't achieved any level of proficiency. In other words, you're still not very good at it. That's okay, as long as it's fun for you. Improvement is not a criteria.
Definitely not. Progress over perfection, consistency over perfection, and balance over perfection. We love it.
Yeah. I actually admire people who can not make any noticeable progress but still enjoy it,
Yeah.
or not hit their targets or preconceived notions of where they should be after a certain amount of time or practice and still enjoy it. I am working on that, but if I don't hit the landmarks in my mind of where I should reasonably be, I get so frustrated that I lose the enjoyment of something that I was enjoying before I
Mm-hmm.
imposed these progress checkpoints on myself.
Mm-hmm. And I really think these types of activities that you're trying out is a really good confidence builder in your ability to create or do just for the sake of doing and not measuring up to anything or judging yourself for the final product.
We spend so much of our lives doing for others because we want to, or because we're paid to, or because we feel like we're supposed to, whatever reason. We need to value ourselves. We are important. I am important. You are important. You deserve to do fun things. Period goes there, not
Full
anything
stop.
else.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know what's a really funny joy sparking activity that I realized is one of my hobbies? I think we can categorize that as a hobby after taking that quiz. You guys, I will go to the park and watch dogs play because it brings me so much joy.
Remember when I sent you the meme of the girl lying on the ground and there's a
Yes, that's
dog sitting on
me.
her chest? And when you first look at it, you think it's her dog sitting on her chest. And then you realize it's attached to a leash and there's a man standing there holding the leash. And it said something under it about you when you see other people's dogs. And I sent it to Caitlin because I'm like, here you are. We should act this one out in real life.
Sometimes I feel creepy, but I just stand there with a smile and hope either no one's paying attention to me or they understand that dogs bring me endless
No, it
joy.
works because the dogs obviously love you because they feel the vibe of genuine affection and
Thank you
reciprocate
so
it. So the
much.
dogs are happy, but then the people are happy too because I love when people think my dogs are cute. I love when people interact with my dogs, when they compliment my dogs. I take it all personally, like I have something to
Like,
do with it. Like I get credit for it. I'm like, oh, thank you.
no, kid, like Harriet and I will sometimes sit on a bench and just not even interact with them. We'll just watch and just enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Like the other day, I just stood in the park and watched them
Yeah.
and just admired them. So, really, a hobby can be as weird as that or as straightforward as painting. It really can be anything that you enjoy that brings you peace and relaxation.
Yeah. I mean, the quiz really works. Yes, we meant it very tongue in cheek, but we started the questions when we were trying to settle for ourselves what is a hobby? What makes a hobby? I mean, there's tremendous overlap between hobbies and self care
Mm-hmm.
to the point where I was trying to get some clarity on if you made a Venn diagram, where's the overlap and where's just self care and where's hobbies. And basically, the best I can determine is it's pretty much total overlap. It's just semantics. What do you want to label that circle? It's things that
Mm-hmm.
bring you joy.
Yeah. What do you do for pure fun? And so essentially, how you're going to want to start a hobby is just thinking about where's an area of your life or an activity that you can step out of productivity and an end product and an outcome and into creativity, creating for the sake of creating, doing for the sake of doing.
And there may or may not be an end product, but it doesn't matter to you.
Mm-hmm.
If you like knitting and in the end you have a scarf, okay. But if in the end something grabbed the end of the yarn and unraveled your whole scarf, you'd be okay with it, then it's fully a hobby.
I had my functional medicine practitioner actually offer up. She said, you need more stress reduction. And so she said, I want you to paint. And so it was definitely motivating just knowing, all right, someone told me to paint. So I had a canvas just lying around for a while and never got into it because I wasn't feeling inspired. I didn't know what to paint. And I don't need more of my paintings in my apartment. I can't fit them.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, I thought, okay, well, this is my, to do from my doctor. So I honestly really enjoyed the process because there was such a lack of pressure. And I'm even thinking maybe I sell it, maybe I gift it to someone, but it wasn't really about the final product ever. It was about spending that time alone and just going for it.
Weren't there great masters before they were great masters and they didn't have money that they would just paint something and then paint a blank canvas on top, so there were actually layers of paintings?
Wow.
I feel like I remember learning about that at some point. I mean, that truly is a hobby. Now, granted, they were probably trying to improve, so their goal was actually to see growth and improvement. But if you were to do something like that, just paint it white in the end, you have a clean palette and you layer your painting right on. When you were describing your doctor basically prescribing for you to spend more time doing hobbies, it reminded me of our conversation with Sensei Victoria when she gave us permission. Sometimes it just really helps to have this other person grant you permission, even if they have no place granting you permission, and even if why you would need permission from this person, that's all irrelevant. It just to have someone say to you, you have permission to go out and have fun. Sometimes that just helps.
Yeah.
Soulful of Wellness grants you permission. In fact, we're prescribing, go spend more time on your hobby.
Oh my gosh, we're finishing recording at 333, which is an angel number. So beautiful. That is your sign to get out today, to get curious about what hobby interests you and what you can do for just yourself this week.
Have more joy in your week. Have more joy in your life.
If you haven't already, don't forget to hit that plus sign so that you can follow us and not miss a week of wellness goodness. And please pass this podcast along to your friend who you think may be in need of some wellness goodness.
Thank you for joining us again today. Peace, love, and light.
Thank you for listening. Till next week, peace, love, and light.
The Soulful of Wellness hosts are certified health and wellness coaches. This podcast is intended to inform and entertain listeners on their wellness journey. This podcast is meant to enhance, not replace, listeners' care from doctors, therapists, or other medical providers. So